Well, we're talking about the lessons that we can learn from party primaries this morning on people and politics. Also, we'll be looking at other issues as well. We gave you former news that we're learning that the NASA principals are meeting in Vipingo Island, so we'll give you all the gritty details of this as well. And of course, we'll discuss that as well with the NASA formation that we saw unveiling their flag bearer last week. But for now, I turn a reminder on what we're asking you this morning still. What lessons have we learned from party primaries? You can hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 our SMS portal. We have already in our studio our panelist, and we have Senator Kimani Wamatangi, who is a senator from Kiambu. Also, we have Mithika Linturi, member of parliament from Igembe South. Also, Joshua Kiptoo, a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, and also NTV's residential analyst as well. We're waiting for Farah Maalim. Boni Halwale is away in Vipingo Island as well with that particular formation, and Jakao Medio also just sent in his text this morning informing us he won't make it. He has a crucial meeting at 6:30 as well. So we continue with the conversation here. You can chime in also. You know our social media platform. You can hit us there. AMLiveNTV is our Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV, our profile name on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up there. And 20505 our SMS portal. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Let's begin first of all with the party primaries, and already what we've seen, so many appeals so far. And we can begin with you, Senator Kimani Wamatangi, first of all, because also yours was a controversial outcome as well. Message from fake news, so to speak,
yes,
and the germane news. So you're here to tell us and give us some clarity on it as well.
Well, yeah, thank you, Debarl. First, let me say that in line with the question you've asked, you know, what does party primaries now look like, and what is the future of party primaries from here? I think the lesson that we all must learn is that party primaries are now a completely different affair altogether. Not what people thought. Remember when we went for our first primaries on 21st of February, 21st on Friday, people
Yes.
thought that it was just by coincidence that only people came out in large numbers in Jubilee areas. But now that's different. Even in core areas, that's what's happening. And that tells you that there is a new mindset in Kenyans. They now have realized what is the importance of party primaries in the electoral process. And I think, let me say to begin, as you've referred to mine, there were quite a number of issues. You remember we went for the Friday one, it failed, came back to the one on Tuesday. People really turned out. It was a general election in Central. Everywhere. Mithika Linturi will tell you, people came out in real large numbers. And luckily, let me say, in the Jubilee areas, and especially in Kiambu, the voting was largely very peaceful, very peaceful. People came out, they voted well, queued, waited, casted their ballots, and results were announced. Let me say that personally, there is no one area where I would say that specifically I would want to blame the process that ensued or what happened. I think the process was really as fair as possible. But you see, in mine, and as you've seen also, largely most of the losers,
Yes.
As is characteristic sometimes of losers, they didn't accept the results, and mine was not a unique case either.
Yes.
You've seen quite a number of people, even in Kiambu. I've seen now quite about 3 or 4 who have decided they will not accept the process or the results and want to either seek alternatives or sponsor other people to seek alternatives for them. And you see, once my nomination was processed, the first 2 results to be announced, I think I was ahead with about 40,000 votes. And then proceeded on and on until I opened a lead of almost 80,000 votes. And then closely, as my closest rival now came on and trying to close that gap, one last result was remaining in a place called Juja. And because the difference between the 2 governor front runners was very huge, between the incumbent and his challenger, was almost 200,000 votes plus. The returning officer decided, let's announce this one for the governor, even without the last polling station, because 200,000 votes are too many. So they announced. Then onwards, the results between the incumbent women rep and the new challenger also was very big. So they said also this one, because the difference is almost 300,000 votes. Let's not wait for the last polling station, because it's not going to make a difference. Now, when it came to the senator's position, at that particular time, I was almost 50,000 votes ahead, waiting for one polling station. And then, so they decided, they said, because Juja sub-county has got quite a number of voters, let us wait for this and see what kind of difference it makes. That time I'm in the house, myself, I'm just watching. And so they waited until when they announced the results. My challenger got 18,000, I got 12,000 in that particular polling station. So I was still going to win, you know, 55,000 less the 18,000. So the results, before being announced, and I really must seek an apology, and I did so from one of the media stations, because my challenger was working in that particular station as an employee, using some of his old colleagues there. They decided to go to the media and start announcing that he has won. He has won. So they started broadcasting. Do you know, actually, tomorrow I will be attending the burial of one of my supporters. You know, a meeting for the burial, he'll be buried on Friday, of one of my supporters in a place called Gedega. When he went to the shopping center, he was told of the fake news in the evening. He was told, you know, your leader, Wamatangi, has lost. The man just stood there, listened, he didn't speak, he collapsed and he died.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. Very serious. Very serious, in a place called Gedega. He died. I'll be going for his burial. See, and sometimes people just take it lightly. They broadcast that, they broadcast it, until I finally protested myself. I told them, I am the winner. I have been patient. I decided to honor the people of Kiambu myself by staying out of the entire fracas and keeping a backseat until the process is over. You have announced your results, and then I come forward. Now, why would a media station do that? But then, of course, and I have no, I don't want to specifically blame the loser, because you know, anybody is free to do what they like, as long as you stay within the realms of decency and truthfulness. And my only problem is, after that, you know, my opponent has gone around every single TV station, every media house, telling lies. You know, the election was stolen, without saying how it was stolen. Either men in black came and brought in ballots, or it was raided. Just that kind of blind allegation. But however, the truth always stands. You know, I remember I quoted sometimes here what Winston Churchill said. You know, the truth is always there. You know, if you deride it because you're ignorant of it, it still stands. So that's how it was. Let me say in summary, I want to thank the people of Kiambu. They voted me in. And I'm sure during August, we shall still be able to do what we did. Together with the people of Kiambu, we'll go to the elections. I have full confidence in the people of Kiambu that they judge people by track record. Let me summarize by saying this. You see, many people have fallen in this one. Big names, very big names have fallen. And the problem sometimes, you know, when big names fall, because of the presumption that you are too powerful, you are too big, people get to that position and they stop serving. I mean, when you become too powerful, too big, you forget that you are there because of public service. And once you assume that, when elections come, the same marking scheme is used by the voter. Whether you have a big name, whether you have a big office, whether you have been there for 20 years or how many years, the marking scheme is the same.
Thank you.
Have you delivered?
Have you delivered?
Yes. And you see, when you fail in that marking scheme, that's when now you start hearing all these hula baloo. That, oh, you see, this one I was rigged out. This one, somebody, it was stolen. I was not liked. I was not this. So the best way forward, and I want to say on behalf of Jubilee Party, is for our people to come back together. This is only a 5-year cycle. Let us support the party. We move on, support the government. We want our president to move to the election competition in August, having one team that is united.
Right. 500 actually appeals that the tribunal has to hear Of course, we know that 170 of them...
107.
107?
By last night.
By last night is 107.
Up to 2.
Up to 2. Yeah. So it has dramatically... But 500 of them, don't you think there's something just very shocking with this particular premise of just conducted? Of course, this being the first nomination for Jubilee Party as well. Mithika, Linturi, you've been lost like for how many weeks now? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've not seen you on this show.
Yes.
Busy on the ground. What lessons are you learning?
Yes, Debarl, let me admit that I've been out of circulation, out of the issue for the last 2 weeks. But you know, as a leader, you really must make or put your house into order. And that's why I've been in Meru, because I was so particular in ensuring that the elections of the primaries in Meru were peaceful and fair and democratic. So I took that responsibility to ensure that really a fair process took place in Meru. And I also want to really thank the people of Meru for the honor and respect that they gave me, because I did not participate in the elections because I was unopposed. They decided that I think in Linturi we have a leader we can trust, we can have faith in, and who can manage our affairs.
So for you, it was a shoe-in?
Pardon?
For you, it was just a direct...
It's not direct. You can't say it's direct, because my interpretation about direct is where the end of the part of Enomoroz decides this is so and so. But the people decided no opponent, right? So who was willing to face me on. And really I thank people. So I want to say that there are a few things that we can learn out of the party primaries. That one, democracy is coming to age, and people can really agree that if you are a member of a particular party that is founded on certain ideology and you profess that ideology, then you can go compete fairly in a nomination process. And if you win fairly, then you say thanks so much for the opportunity given, and I am willing to join the winner and campaign for him to face the other opponent from other parties in the other general election. So we have seen very many candidates coming together and saying now we are ready, we are willing to be bound by the outcome of the results. And I want to take this opportunity to really thank people that have demonstrated that respect for democracy and the wish of the people, and especially my good friend, long-time friend, Kabando, who's been a political friend of mine since 1996 when we were finding Safina together. And when he lost, he was the first one to say, I agree, I concede defeat, and I wish the people of Mukurweini well. That's serious maturity. And I would want everybody else to learn from this, other than permanently waste time on trying to get reasons to blame other people for your loss, because this is really happening. Two, the other thing I find necessary to comment on is that when you look at the number of appeals or cases before the parties tribunal, 107, actually is a very, in my view, it's a very small number. It's a small number because when you look at the candidates that were running for governor, senate, MP, and women and other the MCAs, I think in Jubilee and around over 8,000 candidates that were running across the country, and 8,000. So out of the 8,000 nominations that were done, only 107 people are saying we are aggrieved by the results of the primaries. To me, that is almost, it's 1%. It's not, it's around 1.2% because 1% would be around 80. So it's 1.2, 1.5, say maximum 1.5%. 1.5% is such a very, very, very small number. And I would want to thank the Jubilee Party for demonstrating that it's a party that is democratic, there's a party that is willing to give the people of this country to decide on who their leaders are. And in my view, that is why there are very few cases, because very few people are aggrieved, either by the process or by whatever happened during the voting day. And some of the issues that may be raised, and I think my good Maalim here, because he taught me, that may not have been caused by the party itself, because people may behave in a manner that brings disadvantage to other candidates during electioneering, and you find that yes, these people may have evidence, may have issues to raise that would constitute an unfair practice in the conduct of elections.
Thank you.
So I am saying thumbs up to Jubilee for demonstrating that they can really organize a free, fair primaries for everyone. And the next time, nobody will be really afraid of participating in a nomination, because some of them carry the fear that they would be banned.
Thank you. We'll continue with this, of course. You don't have to exhaustively finish everything on this. Let's hear from Kiptoo for a moment before I take a short break. Okay. Lesson from the party primaries yourself?
Now, when it comes to the party primaries, I think I would come from a different perspective than the political players, because for them, they are politicians. So they would be part of the problem themselves. Now, two things, as we had agreed with you previously. One, parties can be said not to have the capacity to conduct credible nominations. Yes. That's number one. Secondly, our political culture, again, fuels the kind of problems and issues we are getting during the party primaries. Because when you talk about parties being unable, the idea of an election is it being a process. And it's a process that should be well planned and takes a lot of time, manpower, resources. Parties didn't put in enough resources. Parties did not put in enough time as to the logistics. That's why, for example, Jubilee, I think when they saw they have 8,000 candidates, they got excited with the interest, but never cared to just be a little bit concerned that we have 8,000 candidates. How do you deal with 8,000 candidates? That's like a mini election. In fact, it's more than a mini election, almost three-quarters of what we have in the general elections. Look at the opposition. ODM also generated around 7,000 number of aspirants. So the first instance, that should have been a warning sign to the political parties. Yes. That with the significant number of aspirants. And again, that again boils down to the political culture I was referring to. It is an accepted fact by political whatever parties that in an area where a party is powerful and is strong and has big following, it is always a fact that every candidate would wish to get that ticket, because you get that, you get in. There's always that presumption. For example, in Luo Nyanza, you get ODM, you're done. Jubilee, if you get it in Mount Kenya region, in Rift Valley, then you are in. So with that kind of competition and with the kind of culture we have where no one wants to lose, our political culture is that I must win, I must get. No one has to lose. So that generates now the problems we have, because now in two ways, parties will fail to have in clear logistics. They'll fail to put in resources. And the political players, on the other hand, come with a mindset of not losing. That's why you have the number of disputes. For example, I would wish to correct my good friend, Mheshimiwa, that for Jubilee, for example, they had around 500 and something. In fact, by yesterday, the tribunal refused to take in new complaints because of the deadline of today. We have the timelines
trickling in.
I can even say the parties have become mischievous in a way. You know, they have been pushing their nominations across, but they kept pushing with the deadline in mind. Because past today, it doesn't make sense. In fact, I left the Jubilee Tribunal. I was representing a few of those disgruntled aspirants. And by the time I was leaving, 107 had been done. And I think those guys sat all the way up to 2 in the morning. On Saturday, same thing. They kept working up to 2. In fact, I really feel for the tribunal. How can they have that? So the same thing, even, and I think the lessons we can learn is this, and I was sharing with him. It's a fact that parties do not have capacity to conduct credible nomination process. So what do we do? Now that the citizens are so excited about primaries and they choose to participate, why don't we have a mechanism? Possibly, if it's possible, put in money, because the Political Parties Act came in with the idea of funding. Put in money, possibly IBC to run concurrently.
Thank you.
Secondly,
before we go to your second point, could you just hold on to your second point? We take a short break?
Yeah.
Before we took that particular short break, your second point?
My second point
I hope you've not lost.
On the party primaries. I've not lost my
point.
Yes. Now, main aspect here, if you look at even the dispute resolution, the tribunal is overwhelmed because every of such disputes are being handled by one tribunal. For example, Jubilee with 8,000 aspirants generating around 500 cases would be understandable. For ODM, I saw they had around 350 a number of cases. Point of concern is, how do you expect a tribunal of around 7 guys to come up with a decision within 3-4 days with the deadline looming today? How about the parties decentralizing? The same way when it came to announcement of results, the county handled announcement of results up to the gubernatorial. So why then not also have a similar mechanism? If we had a tribunal sitting in each of those counties, I think by today we wouldn't have such a backlog. So it is just my concern that I don't think the tribunal will have enough time to be able to sieve through. If by yesterday they are not taking any more new cases, that tells you the crisis they are in. And you know, parties knew this was going to happen. They knew they didn't have capacity. I am happy with the way they acknowledge, even the bigger coalition. Jubilee came out and acknowledged that we have messed up our supporters, we have done a wrong. In fact, taking the decision to cancel was an admission of failure. Same thing with ODM, they admitted. So the main thing, even with the problems, even with the challenges, we also need to prepare for dispute resolution. Have the tribunal being all over in each of those counties for each of the parties. Alternatively also, I don't know what changed. ODM had a plan of having their nominations 2 months before the deadlines. If they would have done that by now, there would be any dispute. How about the political parties having their nominations done and dusted a month before the deadline? Not that they stick to the timelines given by the Constitution and the law, because at the moment you have tomorrow, in fact, by today midnight, that process should be closed. Yet you have all these disputes. If they would have done this by March, the whole of April, it even gives room for the political parties to do healing. Because in both coalitions, their supporters are paining. I come from a county where Jubilee is dominant, in Nandi. And I remember the feeling, there was some sense of apathy, that it may even have an impact in the August elections, because some voters are feeling disenfranchised. If you do the process a month or two earlier, you have a whole 1 month where every voter would feel their interests have been catered for. Because at the end of the day, in fact, most of the aspirants are being forced to go independent way. When you see the number of independents rising and rising, in fact, at the political parties' offices today, you will see so many people there crossing over. So if the parties can be able to do this 2 months earlier, have a whole 1 month for the process of dispute resolution, healing, acknowledging, accepting, and going forward again, learning from the mistakes and lessons. Because in Kenya, we never seem to learn. We have cried. In fact, every single Kenyan accepts that political primaries have been a mess. Going forward, it should be different. I've had the same message from both political party leadership, right from the president, including the voter. So how comes we never put that into action? So going forward, it's a serious discussion that going into the next general election, we must make our party primaries a critical process.
Let's come to Nyeri, not to Nyeri actually, to Meru in a bit, because now the Kikali outfit, you seem to have suffered a blow as well. What is happening to the Kikali outfit? It seems Kajuju, women rep Kajuju, she's out. Kawera, she's actually looking like she's actually going to, take this particular seat. And you're going to warm up with Peter Munya as the next governor, so to speak.
Let's not personalize this debate to Meru. But allow us speaking generally. But because of our responsibility, I will mention very briefly. As Kiptoo has said, people are healing. We need to give people the time to heal.
So still sputting from the shock.
And Kikali has not lost. That is the one I would want you to know, because, Kikali was an acronym. And we said whoever is elected, Kreito was Kreito and Linturi. And when you looked at Kajuju is a car, Kawira is a car, Kailemia was car. That's how we formed Kikali. Because all our women rep candidates and a car. So when we are saying Kikali, anybody that would have been elected would have really fitted in well. But the nominations were done. Of course, Kawira has issues with the nomination, and I think she has gone to the tribunal to present her grievances, and it will be very unfair for me to really speak on that process.
Kawera or Kajuju?
Kawera, yes. And it will not be very unfair for me to speak about that process before the verdict is done or meant by the tribunal. So I will not want to discuss the conduct of the nomination specifically on the position of woman rep in Meru, because of the interests that there are, and I would not want to be accused of winning bias. So I withdraw from really participating in that debate. But I think I would want to say, contrary to what Kiptoo has said, my looking or my thinking of my lessons from the nominations is a bit different. It's a bit different because the numbers that really participated in the nominations are quite big. And I would want to point out to those people that have decided to go independent after either losing at the nominations and especially without their matters having been earned by the tribunal. Because when you sign a code of conduct, or when you want to abide by a constitution of a particular party, then you should be willing to subject yourself to the rules of that particular party to the end. So, and because there are mechanisms to settle disputes within those institutions, where you feel unguilty after exhausting all the due process, then I would really support that position of going to seek redress somewhere else. So I personally believe when people are picking political parties because of the interest that they may have, because they see this are a dominant party in Meru or in Nandi or anywhere, what engages them most is probably the wave that may be created out of those by this political party, and I can easily ride on that to get the position that I want. But when that doesn't work after one is subjected to primaries, then anybody seeks to find somebody to blame. I'm told yesterday someone was telling me it's called the BSC syndrome. BSC is blame somebody else. So when you get to that kind of situation, then you lose that respect of being a Democrat, and that puts you or the other people into a very awkward situation, because when you do a reflection of yourself, it was about you winning and nobody else but about you. But if you really believe in a cause and you lose favorably, then you must be willing to support the others. So those that have run, I respect those people that decided from the beginning that I am not going to subject myself to any nomination. I want to go independent. Those are serious candidates. But anybody that has lost the election and has decided to go independent without the verdict of the tribunal, in my view, is trying to bring some bit of confusion and conflict and does not believe in democracy.
All right. We want also to hear of what is happening within Wiper Party before we come to you, Wamatangi, first of all. Who is the official spokesperson of the Wiper Party? Mr. Farah.
Who is the official spokesperson of Jubilee?
No.
No. I'm telling you, who's the spokesperson of ODM?
Let's answer the question directly.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. You know, you're asking me.
No, because you've seen.
You're asking me a question.
Dr. Zani really comes to the fore to speak for the party.
Look,
yeah, but who is the official spokesperson for
You've had a
the Wiper Party?
situation in which Zani made a statement, and then later on it was said that's not the official statement of the party. And that goes for everybody. I'm not just talking about Zani. I mean, Zani is an able and very, very respected
leader.
But this is a very direct question. What I'm trying to tell you is that the party has got its own leadership. Indeed, it has a leadership, and depending on the circumstances at that time, any of those top leaders can, be given the task, be tasked with the responsibility of making a statement on behalf of the party on a given issue. Be tasked, yes. But that tasking comes when we consult ourselves and say, okay, Secretary General, you can issue this statement on this, or Farah Maalim, you can issue this statement on this.
So what Nyenze we will say...
When it becomes too much, then we say...
Was out of consultation?
No. Nyenze is a very strong and ardent member of the party.
Yes.
He has his strong feelings himself, which are independent.
But how do we uncouple Mr. Nyenze from Wiper Party when he's making a statement?
Hang on a minute. You see, the problem with our Kenyan way of looking at things is that we are very selective in the manner we subject certain, what we feel are certain rules of operation. We're very selective in that. When, for example, Hassan Joho would go out there, or Mishimboko, or Aisha Juma, or anybody there and say that Raila must be the flag bearer, you have no problem with it. You don't say that these people are trying to rock the NASA bandwagon. But the moment somebody does it in Wiper's backyard, it's like, oh, Kalonzo wants to bolt. They want to rock the NASA, what do you call, bandwagon. I mean, those kind of things are they are neither here nor there. So you find hawks and doves in every camp. You find those ones who are very, you know, vociferously committed to their own leader, and they feel that he's the one who deserves his position. But at the end of the day, the decision was reached. The decision is not reached by one party alone, and we all go by that decision itself. And Nyenze is also subject to that decision now. Nobody is going to make any difference right now. Wiper is 100% committed right now to the lineup that's there for NASA, and we'll continue with that. Any other issues which were done by the Hawks, it's understandable.
But if you're working in concert, why should you then hold another press conference to actually sort of come up with the damage control over the statement from Nyenze? Why should we have
that's the one the party leader and myself are there?
Yes.
The one we were there at Ole Sereni?
Yes.
We were basically putting the record straight on many issues and saying, yes, he has his perfect right to do that, but right now we are calling him to order and we're saying, you know, the position is taken and this is
but
the
this
official,
is the second time he's doing this.
The official party position, this was all before we ended up with somebody, and then only once after we ended up with our own lineup. And that matter is sorted out. Right. It's water under the bridge right now.
Okay.
And NASA is united 100%. Anybody hoping that they're going to have some fallouts in one of those centers is in for a rude shock.
All right, let's see from our callers this morning before we continue the conversation. We have Hillary hanging on the line. Good morning, Hillary.
Good morning, Debarl.
Good morning to you. You have a question or a contribution for our panelist?
Yes, I just have contribution.
Please, very brief, sir.
Okay. Debarl, I just have an advice to those who feel that they want the nominations and they should change. Instead of yapping and making all this noise, why don't you just go to independent? If you think you're popular, why don't let them not wait it that, they let them go independent way. And again, I'm in vegan. Right now, we have candidates vying for independent positions, but they're aligning themselves to NASA. You see, I'm I'm independent, but niko na baba. So it brings again confusion. If you're independent, please, I pray that you stop aligning yourself with a particular coalition or party. Because this madness that we see in primaries, first of all, what's the cause? The cause is that indiscipline in our political parties. Let's say we elect you in an ODM ticket, and then 2 years down the line, you start seeing you sing Jubilee songs, the Mungaro and the likes. That's what brought all this madness in nominations. So the parties make sure that they put people there who play by the rules of the party.
Thank you very much, Hillary from Vihiga. We have William as well from Cherengani. Good morning, William.
Good morning, Debarl.
Good morning to you. A question or a contribution?
I'm William from Cherengani.
Yes, please.
I am an aspirant. What actually happened, I am praying that in this country we may have sanity in our politics. I've just had Kimani Wamatangi, the Honorable, saying that 2,000 is a lot of money for the people down there. I really want to beg Kimani to live to our expectation as a honorable member talking to the TV, to a live TV, that you cannot give workers 2,000 and the cost of living is very high and you expect them to be satisfied. My other issue is about nominations. I ran on a Kanu ticket as a ward representative in Cherengani.
Yes.
And Debarl, do you imagine that after being told that we are going to have a nomination, the last moment, that was on a Monday, it was cancelled and somebody else was given a ticket. Is that fair? Is that a kind of politics we want to practice in this country?
And which party are we talking about?
Kanu.
Kanu.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
And it is really frustrating, Debarl. Yes.
Thank you, William, there from Cherengani as well. Let's hear also from what we have on the social media, a rush of tweets we can see, and also Usha Jose, she's standing by.
Right, so just slightly less than 15 minutes to the top of the hour and your feedback is streaming in. We'll start with Facebook, where the question we were asking were, what lessons have we learned from the party primaries? And we have Augustus Ouma who says, political parties are just business vehicles whereby those who sponsor them are given special treatment or favors by the leadership of various parties. We still have a long way to go in terms of improving our democracy. I don't know, Farah, would you like to take that? Farah?
Farah?
There, yes. I was wondering if you'd like to respond to that.
Maybe you want to read out for Farah
What do you think about what do you think about this comment?
What is the comment?
The comment is, political parties are just business vehicles whereby those who sponsor them are given special treatment or favors by the leadership of various parties. We still have a long way to go in terms of improving our democracy.
Well, indeed, yes, we have a long way to go. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And political parties, in a certain, I wouldn't say limited, but in a certain profound manner, occasionally do get abused and become business vehicles. There's no question about that. By the way, the entire politics of this country is a business. Is business. People are trying to access power and get to the top leadership of this country, so that they can plug themselves into the national resources.
Yes.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the issues of SGR, the Eurobond, the NYS. We wouldn't have all those ones. That is now a political cartel. And that comes, and it's been right from the beginning. From the moment we got independence until today, economic resources and businesses were concentrated in the hands of the political elite.
Yes.
So to say that political parties, by extension, are also business entities, yes, I agree with you.
Thank you. Right, so on Twitter, we had you discussing various issues. We have at Kaloke, who says, the lesson is simple. This is in answer to the question still. The lesson is simple. Youth be enlightened on needs to be tolerant to whoever wins elective posts. We have Yusuf, who says, Farah is spot on. Nobody ever comments on the effect of Ndegwa Commission of 1971 on civil servants and business with government. We have Bonnie, who says, not happy do some people watalose werazao jubos and uzito wakulipa salary. Wow, that is a lot of sheng. I'll just try to translate. Basically, he says he's not happy with the president's increase on the wage bill. He's so what he's saying is he's not happy with the increase because he feels that people will lose their jobs because their employers will not be able to pay this new amounts to them, so we'll prefer to fire them. Right, and we have finally Godfrey, who says politicians are the same year in and year out. As you can see, there's still a lot of feedback, but because of time, we won't be able to read all of them. But do keep your feedback coming, because we will continue with this conversation on social media. So last week, we had the conversation on, recently, sometime back, the president had spoken in local dialect, and there was a lot of, I remember Bonnie spoke a lot, had a lot to speak on the matter, but there was also Senator Mumuchula Kilonzo Jr., who put a sort of Ngugi wa Thiong'o feel, at least that's what I think, to the whole thing. Take a look.
And all of us at some point speak in mother tongue when we are addressing our people out there. Mother tongue speaks to the heart. If you want to touch the heart of the people you are speaking to, you use mother tongue. You go into the parables that are in mother tongue. That's how you capture their attention. And that's what the president did.
Thank you, Usha, for your comments as well. And just last one, I can read also from John Gidanga saying, rigging, bribery, and incitement are vices that are tolerated. Is this a sign of what we should expect on August the 8th? These are lessons learned by John Gidanga as well. Thank you, Usha. So these are the lessons that we are trying to talk about here, rigging, bribery, and incitement. This is all that we saw. Yes. Right. Very briefly, let's hear from Wamatangi as we're winding up.
Yeah, I think there was a caller there who mentioned something about what I said about 2000, the 2000 difference. And I just wanted to explain to William, I heard he was an aspirant, that indeed, when I said that 2,000 shillings is a lot of money, I meant that we need to be cognizant of the fact that the lowest paid worker now, a general laborer, earns only 10,000. So him being an aspirant, maybe at that level, he may not realize that the person at the lowest level, if you give a mother in my slum village of Kiandutu or Kanjeru 2,000, it's a lot of money. It makes a lot of difference. That's what I meant. So maybe I think you need to take that in that context. But back to the debate, you know, I remember I had an opportunity to, it was my opportunity to contribute. And I remember last day you were asking Linturi about Kikali.
Yes.
and
he's been very dodgy with
and
Kikali.
he was being very dodgy.
Yeah.
And you know, you remember, you remember when Munya, the governor, was boxing me in the media. I had come to visit Linturi in Meru, and I spoke there. And I'm glad to hear that there's an updated version of Kikali because the original version only had one person in the KA.
This is a Kikali 3.0.
That was Kajuju. But you know what? What I've come to realize in my experience, in Kiambu we had a group that calls itself United for Kiambu. And they campaigned as a team, and they were lucky because the person who took the governor, the women rep, was in that group. One of them who failed to clinch the position of senator was with them, but I won that particular seat. At the end of the day, what you realize is that the contest, whether you group yourself into a name, is very personal. People judge you according to your own record, not according to what the group has done. And that's why you find, even in a group like the one in my county, they will look at the governor, they will say, fine, this gentleman has got this, the lady for the women rep, this, and the senator, this is the reason. So similar reasons will arise for Kikali. But I was enjoying the question you're asking my friend and neighbor here, Farah, which he also didn't want to own up to. You know, the reality of the matter is that there is a revolt in Waipa. There is a rebellion, and my brother Farah, because you're a good man, you may want things to happen in order, but you can't ignore the fact that if you look at what Mudhama is doing now and his position, I mean, they're not speaking from the same podium. Look at what's happening to Musila, who is the chairman of Waipa. He has revolted. He has decided to go independent. Look at what happened during the nomination of Wavinya Ndeti to be the flag bearer of Waipa as a gubernatorial aspirant and contestant against Kiala, who was there and was sponsored by Mudhama. Of course, there is a revolt internally in Waipa, and that's why probably it's hard to answer that question. Who is the spokesperson?
And we should be winding up very briefly, 30 seconds each of you.
Briefly, just on behalf of Farah, on one thing. For Waipa, we need to separate two things. There's the party primaries, and then there is the issue about the presidential candidates. Those are two different. If you pick out whatever the Wavinya Ndeti's issue, pick out David Musila's issues, it has nothing to do with the presidential choices, whatever the party took. The only person who I think has expressed only discontent was Nyenze alone. So I think it has been blown out of proportion when you include everyone, including Musila and everyone, because for them, it's a party primary issue, and that has affected the parties across board. So that is one thing I'll just play devil's advocate for Waipa.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
But remember, they had a position as Waipa. They had a position actually in Kamba Nation. If it is not going to be Kalonzo, they have no deal.
They were campaigning.
And you cannot wish that away. And that's what playing out.
Look, Wamatangi.
We should be winding up, sir.
I know because the Kamba Nation is on the east of the Rift. The presumption very much was that the luck that befell Kibaki in 2007 will befall again Uhuru in 2017, and that they will revolt, and Kalonzo will go on his own, and then in the process, of course, then it becomes easier for you to clinch. But that is not there. I mean, if it's a matter of internal revolts because of the nominations and other things, you have the same thing. Governor Mbogo of Nakuru is threatening to run as independent. You have that same kind of revolt in Rift Valley. You have it in Central Province. You know what, Kabogo. You have it in Nairobi.
Yes.
Where Peter Kennedy is there, and people are blaming number 2 for it, and saying that number 2 is the one who worked very hard to get him through because he fears a contest for the topic.
Thank you.
But let me just explain what I intended to do, because these were things that were brought in there. You see, we're talking about the rigging, and we're talking about the integrity of this process come 2017, 8th of August. That thing, Chepukati and his team must be doing the right thing and be seen to be doing the right thing. I have just one simple example. As somebody from my own constituency took names, 5 names.
I think we don't have
Hang
time
on a minute, 5 names in there to be taken as regional whatever and a returning officer in the constituency. We then brought that out into social media, so that had to be shelved. Now, only a few days ago, they appointed an RO for my constituency. And I hear now, right now, my competitor says, no, he will never accept that RO.
Thank you.
The RO is, I'm talking about the integrity of the election.
Yes, you are talking, but we need to wind up.
You better
no. It's going to 8 o'clock on the nose, sir.
No, you're being unfair. This particular issue, you're talking about rigging. And that issue right now is there, in which, you know, the competitor is saying he must have somebody other than that because he has somebody in mind. Now, riggings are done by ROs,
For another day, sir. For another day. 30 seconds, Kiptoo, 30 seconds.
You allow them all to take my time and then you say for another day.
Take your time.
What's happening?
Can we even talk about time, Mr. Farah? Kiptoo, 30 seconds. Let's do it. Okay, yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay, the parting shot as I'd...
You see, he takes the time. He takes
No. 30 seconds, Kiptoo is winding up now.
As a parting shot, I'd said, when it comes to the political process, I think we should learn and take it up to the August general elections. IBC should learn and see that there's a reality and there's the law. And it all boils down to early preparation, consistent communication, and involve all the political players. If we don't learn from the mistakes we've seen the last 2 weeks, in August it may be a bigger problem. And again, going forward, we should also incorporate the changes that we've discussed in the 2022 elections.
For me, I want to talk to the political class and those that are participating in the elections to really take time, understand what the common humanity wants in the leaders that they choose. They need to know that they have a responsibility to address those small things that they think are not necessary. Because that is what Kenyan voter is so interested in.
Thank you, Wamatangi.
Yes, thank you, Debarl. I want to finalize by saying I think there are real pertinent issues that we never spoke about today. One, I thought we were going to have time to speak about what is the necessity of having the political, the Elections Act right now, which bars party hopping when still the window for people to go and run as independents is still open. I mean, it defeats the purpose. That's one issue that I thought we'd be able to discuss, because remember the acrimony around passing that particular act, yet all the same individuals are the same ones who have now run as independents. Does it have any effect? And two, I thought we would be also discussing about the funding for political parties, the money that the political parties get from the exchequer in hundreds of millions, and see that money is intended to help political parties run a democratic process of election.
Thank you.
Is that money being used properly?
That is for next Tuesday.
Should the Auditor General have a role in finding out, and should the political parties registrar draw a line and say that if you behave the way ODM was behaving, you should be able to be stricken out, or NASA for that matter?
All right, thank you.